All right. Good evening, Northside Middle School parents. Welcome back for fall 2021. I hope you all had a great summer and are looking forward to an excellent year of growth and learning for your middle schoolers. As you know, we here at the Northside and at Propel are constantly striving to create the best possible learning environment for your children to ensure their academic and personal success. Through extensive time and research, we as a staff have determined that differentiated instruction is a key component for ensuring the success of not just a handful of students, but for the entire classroom. This evening, I will explain what differentiation is, how it works, and how I plan to implement it in our science classroom this year. Differentiated instruction. What is it and how does it work? So this evening, I will be explaining to you what differentiated instruction is. Specifically, I will talk about different differentiation and strategies and techniques that have been used in other classrooms with various degrees of effectiveness. I will explain how these techniques will be implemented in our classroom this year and why I think they will be the most effective for our group of diverse learners. I will also explain my role in developing differentiated instruction through lesson planning, delivery, and assessment. By creating an inviting learning environment, coupled with students having multiple avenues to express their learning, we will be better suited towards ensuring success of each individual in the classroom. So what is differentiated instruction? To help us simplify and bring some clarity to the idea of differentiation, I found a quote that I think is good for starting the conversation, which is, "Good differentiation just means helping more kids succeed." The basis of differentiation is that not every student needs the same supports needed to achieve their academic goals. At the same time, it is way too much for a teacher to individualize every single lesson for every single student. Instead, through research and trial and error, techniques and strategies have been developed to offer differentiation throughout a lesson designed to meet the variety of learning needs presented in a diverse classroom of learners. So how does differentiated instruction work? Good differentiation starts with the attitude and behavior of the teacher. There are several behaviors that we need our students to embrace in order for their growth and success to be met in the classroom. This is best exhibited by students when they have a teacher who is modeling those behaviors. The behaviors to be modeled are being unafraid to make mistakes, being brave enough to state original ideas, and other behaviors that we think are necessary for developing a growth mindset. Once we set a level expectation for classroom behavior, we can explore our subjects in science through a variety of processes and formats, which is another form of differentiation. Any form of differentiation works by providing the student with whatever necessary support is needed for growth and or success in the classroom. Now that we've talked a little bit about what differentiated instruction is and how it works, I thought it would be helpful to look at this definition to help us better understand the specifics of differentiation. So differentiated instruction is a framework or philosophy for effective teaching that involves providing all students within their diverse classroom community of learners a range of different avenues for understanding new information in terms of acquiring content, processing, constructing, or making sense of ideas, and developing teaching materials and assessment measures so that all students within a classroom can learn effectively, regardless of differences in their ability. As mentioned previously, we know that our classrooms are filled with different kinds of learners and that they will have specific needs to accomplish their academic goals. I will be implementing certain strategies and techniques of differentiated instruction in our science classroom this year. But before I go into the specifics of those, we should also have an understanding of the rationale behind differentiated instruction. So, why is Northside implementing differentiated instruction? The Northside is implementing an initiative around differentiated instruction for several reasons. This graphic is useful for helping us understand why we have decided to implement differentiated instruction here at Northside Middle School. The first thing to understand is that our students all have a unique learning profile. While some may share learning styles, the learner's profile is unique to each individual. We must also understand that for our students to have success, they must experience it as well as experiencing challenge. If we don't take into account the differences of our scholars, then we will not be able to provide success and challenge. In order to attend to these differences, we must start with a flexible approach. Ultimately, the approach should be rooted in an inviting environment, assessment designed to inform instruction, and flexible classroom management. If we can accomplish all of this, then our plan for differentiation will prove successful in the classroom. So the teacher roles. Now I will speak briefly about my specific roles as the instructor of the differentiated classroom. My role begins with making sure that I model behavior that is consistent of the behavior I am expecting of my scholars. Something important to keep in mind is that as a leader of a differentiated classroom, my role is less a dispenser of knowledge and more a facilitator and collaborator. Now as a science teacher, obviously it is important that I know the content I am teaching, but it is also equally important for me to focus on my role as a coach/mentor in my students' personal quest for knowledge, allowing them the autonomy to be leaders of their own learning. Also, specific to my role are 5 principles that I will hold myself to in order to foster a successful differentiated classroom. Those principles are maintaining high expectations, creating a positive, inviting learning environment, engaging my scholars in learning, teaching for success, and engaging in reflective practice. So some of the differentiation techniques that I'll be using this year in the middle school science classroom are listed here on our slide. These are techniques that have been used in successfully differentiated classrooms in the past all over the country. For science, I really like differentiation techniques because it makes it even more fun to learn. Graphic organizers are a form of differentiation, and 2 that I plan on using this year are Frayer models and choice boards. A Frayer model is used for vocabulary, and in science they are particularly useful because it allows the scholar to understand a concept in their own words and with visual assistance. Choice boards allow students to choose the way they want to learn about a specific concept. Tiered activities are similar to choice boards in that scholars learn about a concept in a variety of ways, but with tiered activities, I will determine our scholars' readiness level for assigning tasks and going forward with the lesson activity. To continue from our last slide, I will go over a few more specific techniques I will be implementing this year in the classroom in our effort to have successfully differentiated classrooms here at Northside. Interest centers and learning centers are similar, which should be apparent because of their names. Interest centers would be used to group students with similar interests around the classroom, whereas learning centers are spaced around the classroom and have a specific concept for students to learn at each center. Both are great for fostering collaboration, which is necessary for the environment we are trying to create. Finally, with our increasingly digital world, I will be using a variety of technologies to help with differentiation. Beyond the Google Classroom, you should expect your student to be using Flipgrid, Pear Deck, Jamboard, and other digital tools for our journey in learning. Again, these tools are great for fostering collaboration both in and out of the classroom. Diagnostic pre-assessment is a great way to start for the differentiated classroom. It will allow the teacher and the student to have a level idea of where each student is in relation to an upcoming concept. In the differentiated classroom, assessment reflects a multitude of accepted ways to show a student's understanding of a lesson's concept. As with each individual learner having different levels of growth as a goal, each learner has a different capacity for showing that growth. In my classroom, I will combine a variety of acceptable formats for demonstrating content mastery. Similar to having choice boards to differentiate by allowing students to choose how they learn, we will similarly allow students the freedom and autonomy to choose how they are assessed. Ultimately, our goal is to see your child experience growth, challenge, and success in our science classroom this year and into the future. It is our belief that with implementing the proper techniques and strategies that have been proven successful in differentiating a classroom, we will be able to accomplish these goals. I am looking forward to going on this journey with you and your children as we must all keep in mind that differentiating does not have a finish line, but rather is something to be continuously reflected and hopefully improved upon. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that you all may have. Please feel free to reach out to me at any point with any questions or concerns you may have. You should all be leaving with my contact information, which is listed here on our last slide. I'd like to say thank you again for coming and spending this time with me this evening. And again, I am very much looking forward to a productive, successful year ahead. Have a great evening.